I think that this would be another one of those blows where it's like, wow, I'm doing all I can. I'm
Right.
trying my best, and to get another no is totally discouraging. But even hearing from you that, hey, you know what? Even though you got these no's, and even though it looks like your situation may be one that you may not be able to get your rights restored, go do your due diligence, put forth a valuable effort, go
Hmm.
try, and let's see what happens from there. I think that that's very important for individuals to
Right.
go do that. And another thing is, I know that the form has to be filled out by someone at court. So
Right.
I want you to reiterate on that, so we don't have
Right.
individuals print that form out trying to sign it and fill it out themselves. Uh,
Right. There are quite a few people who fill it out themselves and then turn it in. I'm like, no, no, you have to have somebody. And the reason why is because you have to go to somebody who can verify that all your court costs and fines are paid, and they have to look it up in the system. So it has to be somebody who has access to that, like a probation officer or a criminal court clerk.
right.
Right.
Someone who's able to tap into that computer system
Right.
and verify that there's no outstanding anything
Right.
uh, that's still attached to that case. And I think that we need to reiterate again, it's for all of your felony cases. You know,
Right.
even though you may have one that you feel that is the one that's going to prevent you from being able to have your rights restored, go if you have any felony charge. Please make sure that they add all of them on the list, because if you're getting yourself to this juncture where you're able to deal with, especially with all of those wonderful resources. And if you could, Ms. Vicky, email me the list of resources that you have for those individuals for their pro bono help, so I can continue to share that with them as they reach out to me and try and get those rights restored. But if you're getting yourself to a juncture where you're able to get this type of assistance, make sure you're making yourself totally eligible, so you're not doubling back and having to go back finding out, oh, there's the case from 1990 that I omitted that is now preventing me when I thought I had everything taken care of. No, make sure we're doing our due diligence and making sure that all felony convictions are being addressed at this current time.
Right. And if you have federal cases, you have to go to the federal building. And if you have state cases, you have to go to 201. And if you have both, you have to go to both places.
Right. That is true. Now, what about individuals who have who are now residing in Shelby County, but actually have felony convictions from other areas? Could you go through the process for them and let them know it's going to be slightly different because they can't go to 201 and get the forms like someone
Right.
who has a state conviction from Memphis would, but just go over those different ways that they would have to go and address that situation.
Right. So basically, if you had a felony in another state or another county, that same form needs to be filled out by whatever county they were convicted in. So the law is kind of complicated on different states now that some states automatically restore your rights. So unless, let's say you were convicted in a state and you did your time, and as soon as you got done, they said your voting rights are restored. Well, that's great for that state, but that does not mean that your rights are restored in Tennessee. You still have to have the form filled out. And so it becomes very difficult to get that state to fill out that form, because depending on who you give that form to, it might just sit on the desk because they think, well, we don't have to do that in our state, and they don't care. So my suggestion would be to call wherever you finished your probation or your time.
Correct.
Find out who to send it to, what the address is, and a person's name. and then call back in another week and say, have you sent the form? They need to send it back to you so that you know that it is done. And that way you don't call them and they go, oh, it's in the mail. And you never know and you never see it. And then you're back to square one.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I see that Mr. Moore has a question. Brandon, if you could allow Mr. Moore to
Sure.
ask his question. Mr. Moore? I think we need to unmute him, Brandon.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, Mr. Moore. I can hear you, Doc. How you doing?
How you doing, man? How you doing?
Awesome, awesome.
I've been around a long time. I got about 18 to 20 felony convictions.
Yes, sir.
And we always talk about voting rights, and I think what's missing in this conversation is we never talked about citizenship rights. Because when we plead guilty to a felony, we've been disenfranchised. And most people walking around don't understand they don't have citizenship rights. So we concentrate on voting rights because it's political and everybody wants you to vote for them. So they say help them get voting rights back. But when we're going to put emphasis on citizenship rights, I got my citizenship right back in 1991. How you had to go back to circuit court to get your citizenship rights back. But we just grew on vote. So when you get your citizenship rights back, everything comes with the package because you're a citizen again and you got to go to circuit court. We got some lawyers I know that work with me and they do it pro bono if you don't work, but nobody ever talk about that. We just get your voting rights back because somebody wants you to vote for them. But what about the individual needed citizenship rights that he can be whole again and he can come back and be a citizen? So I just want to throw that out there and see why we're not ever concentrating on citizenship rights. We always talk about voting
rights. For me, I was actually going to lead this conversation because once you get into getting your voting rights back, it opens the door for you to be able to get your citizenship rights in certain cases. As far as me personally, I haven't went through the process or know anyone who has went through that process of getting their citizenship rights back. But I do agree with you 110%, Mr. Moore, that voter rights are one thing, and you're spot on with that, and that's totally different from citizenship rights. But yes, these individuals do need their citizenship rights back at the same time, and I agree with that 110%. I think that that's a conversation that we need to have with city, county, and city commissioners and state officials to see why we're not advertising that more, especially in our communities. Ms. Vicki, if you want to chime in, you're more than welcome to.
Well, working for the Election Commission, that's why I concentrate on voting rights. But I do understand that the reason why most people do not concentrate on it is because it's free to go through the process to get your voting rights back. But it is not free to get your citizenship rights. You either have to, like this man, get a pro bono lawyer, which is not the easiest thing to do, or pay the money and get a lawyer and go back yourself. So when you get your citizenship rights, you get the right to vote, the right to hold office, the right to be on a jury, and the right to bear arms. So you get all of those back all at one time. But it does take time, and right now they're not even in session. So I would recommend that everybody at this time, because the time is, it is on. I mean, we need to get going on this because October 5th is the voter registration deadline for the November election. So 30 days before an election, they cut off all brand new registrations. And the state of Tennessee has to have all of these certificate of restorations approved by October 5th, which means they have to be in before October 5th. if you're going to wait around and try to get citizenship rights and they're not even in session right now, I hate to think that you might wait too long. So I would recommend going through the process of getting the voting rights right now so you can get your vote to count in November, and then going back and working on the citizenship.
And I agree with that. Mr. Moore, if we can talk so after this call, and we can sit down and set a time where those individuals you have who are attorneys that work on citizenship requirements and don't mind going to circuit court, where we can actually have them on another webinar and another panel to explain how to go do that. And I think that that's valuable information to share. But again, with Ms. Collins, let's go ahead and see if we can get individuals who are interested in voting.
I wasn't saying not to get your voting rights. I was just adding that on. I understand what this is about voting. I just want to put that out there, and I try to put it out there because sometimes we stop at voting and we don't go to citizenship. So I'm agreeing with her too. Go and get your voting rights right now, but don't forget the other part.
Most definitely. And I'm so serious, Ms. Moore. I really want to get with you on let's get together and get a webinar about that, getting those citizenship rights back. I think that'll be gratefully appreciated if we could get that together. And if you don't know who Mr. Moore is a staple in the greater Memphis area. I actually say statewide when it comes to standing up against gun violence and things of that nature in the city, across the county and across the state. Mr. Moore has been in the state talking on behalf of the youth in the city. He's very well known in the county. And Mr. Moore, every time I talk to you, I tell you I appreciate all the work you're doing. And Mr. Moore is like a mentor for me. I look up to him. Hill 901, we try and follow those great big footsteps as he's laid forth for nonprofits in the city who are really doing their best to make sure that we're addressing the needs of the community.
Mm-hmm.
But does anyone else, thank you again, Mr. Moore, does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Vicky at this time while we have the privilege of having her available? Or do you know anybody who would benefit, or a question that someone would have when looking at these things and knowing what needs to be done? All right, Susan, we have no questions at this time. I don't see any hands raised. I don't see any questions in my Q&A box. I just want to thank everybody who took time out of their very busy schedules to be a part of this wonderful Zoom call. Ms. Collins, thank you so much. You and the representative at the Shelby County Election Commission for making themselves available, making yourself available for today for this much needed conversation. Emphasizing voters' rights restoration. Thank you, Professor Owsley, for being on the line, handling all the technical sides of things. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today. Ms. Davis, thank you so much. I see a couple of my staff members. Corby, I see you on the line. Thank you all so much. And if there are no other questions or anything, feel free to email me. This call was being recorded to be able to share with other individuals who are not able to be on the call. This is a video that you can add into your repertoire when speaking to these individuals and letting them know things that they can do to go ahead and get themselves on the process of being a normal citizen again. Anyone have anything else? Mr. Moore, Ms. Vicky?
Good. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Everybody have a great day. And if you're looking for this link, please email me at kcowan, that's KCOWAN, at HEAL901, that's HEAL901.org. And I'll make sure I get this recording to you as quickly as we possibly can. And it will be on YouTube for other individuals to share with or the organization.